What's up, everybody? Welcome back to How I Feel Food. This is your host, Danny, also known as Wanny, and welcome to a podcast that is strictly about the hottest takes of the beautiful game, football. And y'all know what time it is. This is World Cup season, baby. Let's get it. Throughout this episode, we will be reviewing the matches that occurred on day 3 of the World Cup, and those matches include Argentina versus Saudi Arabia, Denmark versus Tunisia, Mexico versus Poland, and France versus Australia. And we could actually go ahead and dive right into them. Today, we may have witnessed one of the biggest upsets in World Cup history. Saudi Arabia did all they could and pulled the tricks out their sleeves to get a victory over Argentina. Saudi Arabia was a massive underdog going into this match, and to all my bettors, their odds were at plus 2,200, which means it was very, very unlikely for them to win. But this just goes to show that anything could happen at the World Cup. The game actually started in a way that many of us would have predicted, with Messi scoring a penalty kick within the first 10 minutes in a very nonchalant manner. And even after that, Argentina showed their dominance. They had their chances, and they actually had 3 disallowed goals, which was very unlucky for them. And to be honest, one of them was very controversial, but altogether, Argentina could have easily been up 4-0 if it weren't for offsides. However, the first Lautaro goal, in my opinion, was very controversial. I feel like that was the perfect through ball for him, and he finished it nicely with a little chip. And that left back for Saudi Arabia was actually keeping him onside, so I have no idea why VAR called offside. And I also saw tweets surfacing that VAR could have potentially got it wrong this time, which I'm having a very hard time understanding because FIFA had implemented new offsides technology, and something that is as definitive and advanced as VAR shouldn't be making these errors. However, we can't just blame technology. Argentina has all the potential in the world to overcome all of that. But the second half was a whole different story. Instead of continuing to create chances like in the first half, the Argentine team started to commit mistakes. Silly little mistakes that could cause you a whole game. One of the biggest mistakes came from their captain, Lionel Messi. Messi lost the ball at the halfway line, and Saudi Arabia capitalized on that and scored off the play right after that. It is true, maybe Romero and the defense could have done better, but Messi knows better than to lose the ball like that. He's their most valuable player, he's their captain, and he's one of the greatest of all time. But he got it wrong this time. That was a crucial error. This was the beginning of the end for Argentina, and within about 5 minutes, Saudi Arabia got control of a loose ball in the box, and from a tough angle, Al-Dasari cuts and curls one into the far top corner. What a beautiful goal. It was just almost unstoppable for the goalie. And after that, Saudi Arabia was up 2-1, and they were already shocking the whole world. But after that goal, the Arabians did all they could to make sure that Argentina didn't equalize. A mixture of parking the bus, goal line clearances, and decent saves helped them secure this upset victory, which is a great victory and a great moment for all Saudi Arabia fans. But as far as Argentina, their 36-game streak of being unbeaten has come to an end earlier than expected. Everybody thought Argentina was going to breeze through the group and continue that streak, but Saudi Arabia had other plans. However, it's far from over. Argentina can flip it around the same way Spain did in 2010. We all know Spain lost their first game and ended up champions. So it's not over for them. They still have a chance. And one of the biggest reasons why Argentina still has a chance is the fact that Mexico and Poland drew today. And that's the best result Argentina could have possibly asked for, because now it's really close between them three, and they all still have a good chance of qualifying for the next round. But now we can move on to the Mexico game against Poland, which for me was a very close game to watch. I was nervous for Mexico in the beginning because I feel like some of the call-ups were biased on behalf of the coach Tata Martino. And in my opinion, I feel like Diego Lainez should have been called up without a doubt. He's one of those players that brings something different to the table. In Spanish, we call him caracolero or desequilibrante, which means that he likes to dribble and take on players as well as throw the defense off. And honestly, I don't see any players on the Mexico national team do that. And that's terrible because having that ability is super important because, one, it opens up spaces for other players. And two, that's how you could potentially win fouls. And sometimes set pieces and free kicks or penalties, make a difference in matches. But Mexico could have definitely used that flair today, without a doubt. And other than that, today's result was not the one that we wanted, nor the one we needed. But Mexico definitely surprised me today. In my opinion, they were the better team and even had more possession and chances than Poland. But by no means did they dominate the game. They only had glimpses of good football. But we definitely need to be more clinical in front of goal. And I guess this is the positive about having low expectations. Because when you don't expect much and something actually does happen, it feels better, to be honest. But to me, two standouts for the Mexican national team were definitely Alexis Vega and Luis Chavez. And before we start talking about Alexis Vega from a soccer standpoint, he was crying during the national anthem. Well, I wouldn't say he was bawling out tears, but you definitely see tears on his face. And that's what football is all about. That's what the World Cup is all about. This is a passion. You think about what you've been through, and now you're at the biggest stages. That's what it's all about, representing your nation, having a whole country behind you. And I just thought it was amazing that that moment was captured. But Alexis Vega is a player that is very explosive. He's very strong when he holds the ball. And he's very good at cutting, shooting, and switching the play. I really enjoyed how he played today. He showed the physicality and he showed the passion that you need to play at a World Cup. But one of my favorite players right now for the national team has to be Luis Chavez, who held it down for the midfield and served as that creative spark for Mexico at times. His passing is so accurate, long balls and short passes. He just knows what to do with the ball, which is important for midfielders because they have to be on their toes at all times. And since his inception to the team, he has definitely earned his spot and has been getting shouts as the best midfielder in the domestic league, La Liga MX. And although the game ended 0-0, I feel like the biggest highlight of this match was Poland's penalty, which some may have deemed controversial, but I think it was fairly given. Hector Moreno was pulling on Lewandowski's shirt, and although the shirt pull may have seemed as a soft foul, it still impacted Lewa's ability to shoot, and those are the fouls that are being called now. In today's game, unfortunately, that's enough for a PK. But, the PK was called, and, it was Lewandowski versus San Memo Ochoa. And we all know how clutch Ochoa could be at World Cups. Who could forget about his performance against Brazil in 2014, saving that Neymar header, and just being clutch, If it weren't for him, we wouldn't have gotten that draw against Brazil in 2014. But I promise you that's what all of us Mexican fans were thinking of. We were thinking of and praying for Ochoa to display his greatness once again. And then we had it. Lewandowski took the PK, and Ochoa was there once again to rescue Mexico, and he saved the PK. Ochoa demonstrated why he is a national icon, and he also showed why he is a legend for the national team. And although that had me very hyped, the draw makes it a little more complicated for Mexico to qualify, especially after the group's underdog, Saudi Arabia, got that unexpected win. So we're going to see how this group plays out, but at this moment, it's very tricky for Mexico to qualify. In addition to the matches from Group C, we saw 2 battles from Group D. We saw Denmark take on Tunisia in what was also a 0-0 draw. And don't let this score fool you. I feel like this game was very, very good. The game was back and forth, and the defenders and goalies had to play big roles. Although there was a disparity in possession between the two, both teams were still able to create chances and combined for a total of 24 shots, 11 for Denmark and 13 for Tunisia, as well as a total of 20 corners, 11 for Denmark and 9 for Tunisia. And that just shows that both teams were obviously looking for that goal. And they earned a very hard-fought point against a quality side in Denmark, who I had higher expectations for, but maybe luck wasn't on their side. But I feel like Denmark is a team that is very good at working as a team, and that takes you far, especially in tournaments like these. They also have Christian Eriksen, who has been playing great with Man United and has become their most important midfielder. You can honestly tell when Eriksen isn't on the pitch for United. It influences their game so much. But, they also have a lot of experience, and today clearly shows that they need a striker badly. They had so many times where they were trying to advance, but it was nobody to get the ball in the net. So I think that's one of their missing pieces. But other than that, they're a solid team, and we got to watch out for Tunisia as well. And hats off to Tunisia because, like I mentioned, as the underdog, this is a very valuable point, and it gives them a chance to qualify as well. But Tunisia and Saudi Arabia's results go to show that there are no easy games in the World Cup. Everybody comes to play with a passion and a whole nation behind them, and that drive could be the difference maker. This is why we love football. The last game of day 3 was France versus Australia, and France is actually the most recent champion. And if you keep up with World Cups, you know how that goes. But for those that don't, in recent years, there's actually been a pattern that displays that there might be a champion's curse. And it theorizes that the reigning World Cup champions flop in the next World Cup. It has actually happened in the last 3 World Cups. In 2010, Italy didn't make it past the group stages. Same thing happened to Spain in 2014. And then the same exact thing happened to Germany in 2018 when they got bounced in the group stages. So it will be intriguing to see if France flops, because I cannot see that happening with the team that they have. They have so many great players. They have one of the deepest squads in the World Cup. But France did almost look fraudulent, especially when Australia surprised the world when they took the lead within 10 minutes. But to be very frank, France was just so many levels ahead of the Aussies. They were losing, but slowly started to pick up the pace, and by the half, France had already made the comeback and were up 2-1, with Rabiot leading the charge. He scored 1 goal and recorded an assist. I knew the game was going downhill for Australia, but 2-1 is one of the most deceiving scores in football. However, later in the second half, Mbappe scored a 3rd goal, and right after that, Olivier Giroud got his brace when he scored France's 4th goal. France had so many more chances as well, but they just couldn't put them away. But it shows that they're not here to just play, they're here to compete. They showed why they are the champions, and they also showed that they have the heart to make comebacks. So for me, this is a very strong start from France. And even with absences from Pogba and Benzema, they are still a very, very scary team. Well, that's all I have for day 3 of the World Cup. I'm hoping y'all enjoyed the little recap. And if y'all have any ideas or topics that I should go over, please drop them in the comments. But that's been all. This is Danny, also known as Wanny from High Off the Foot. Keep enjoying the World Cup.